Hey guys, the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast is growing, and we have our first official sponsor, LeadFi. And instead of trying to tell you what LeadFi does and how much we love it, we actually just brought the owner of LeadFi here, Douglas James, to explain it to you.
LeadFi helps business owners identify exactly who is financially capable in their funnel in real time. We deliver crucial credit and financial information to include their exact credit score, exactly how much money they can spend on their credit cards, their annual income, as well as their debt to income ratio. We also have underwriting algorithms where we will underwrite exactly how much more money we can help raise for them in business funding. And we deliver all this data to you in real time into your CRM using just name, email, and phone number. This data allows you to also target higher end, high quality leads on Meta and Google, allowing your sales team to focus on high value prospects instead of wasting time on people that are not financially capable.
So, if you have a high ticket offer, if you are on a sales team, if you're a closer, if you're a setter, get this in front of whoever the decision maker is if you like making money, because you will be able to have a stacked calendar and only be getting on sales calls with people that can afford your offer. No more tire kickers, no more people being able to lie to you on sales calls and tell you they can't afford it, smokescreen objections, none of that. Scale your offer with LeadFi today.
All right, what's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast. Today's guest is an award-winning filmmaker, a 2 Comma Club award winner, and a YouTube powerhouse with over 100,000 subscribers. She's a CEO of Jaxx Productions, creator of the YouTube Lead Machine, and most recently launched the School of Money. And here's the wild part. In just over a month from now, she's marrying Steven Larsen. And in true marketer fashion, they're selling tickets to their own wedding. And we're absolutely here for it. Please welcome to the show, Marley Jaxx. How are we feeling today, Marley?
Hey, so excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for coming on. Perfect timing too. I know we've been talking about this for a while, but this is like right before the wedding, and this is like disrupting the entire industry. Everybody is either, it's so funny, it's so polarized. Some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. And then other people are like, oh my God, I can't wait to go. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, there's no marketing in the middle. That's how it should be.
Exactly. I love it. Well, Marley, we like to start off every episode the same way. When we invite people onto the podcast, similarly to you selling tickets to your wedding, everybody has a different reaction. And so we want to ask you, what does entrepreneurship sucks mean to you?
I loved the title as soon as I saw it because it's something that I was like, yep, that makes sense. But also something that we all agreed to. Like, I mean, just like anything, you got to pick your hard, right? Like it's hard being in a 9 to 5. It's hard not having control of your revenue. It's also hard being the only person in control of your revenue and having responsibility for that. So I think entrepreneurship is a fun game that we've all signed up for, but just like many other games, it can have its moments of real suck, but embrace the suck.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did entrepreneurship start for you? I know you have a history in film. And so like tell us a little bit about your journey, like pre-entrepreneurship and how we got to like where we are today.
Pre-entrepreneurship, I was a dental hygienist, which usually gets a reaction of like, what? Because that's not really a linear, like, oh yeah, I was doing this. And then the next step was I just started my own business. I was a dental hygienist because it was kind of like okay, I'll do this until I figure out what I really want to be when I grow up. But I'm sure I'm sure you can imagine that it was super boring, and cleaning teeth all day is not very creative, and I'm a very creative person. So to kind of entertain
dental hygiene, actually, I'm curious because my wife went to school for dental hygiene and then she quit school. She's like, I don't want to do this. I realized very quickly and, went a different route. So,
funny.
The reason she chose it was because it required the least amount of school with the highest salary.
Definitely a great benefit. That was definitely part of it. But the other part of it was like, I knew that this was kind of a stepping stone and this will be what I do while I figure out what I really want to do. And it was something that like, you don't have to take work home with you. Like you work your 9 to 5 and it's not like your patients come home or you have charting or reports or, deadlines. So it was something that I chose just so that I could have my evenings to really figure out what do I really want to pursue in life.
Except for unless like horrible bosses, unless you have Jennifer
Oh my
Aniston
gosh.
as your
Yeah, luckily I never had that.
yeah. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
So all right. So how quickly did you realize that this wasn't for you? Like how long did you last?
Oh, even when I was in school, I like
Yeah.
didn't fit in with the other hygienists. I knew
Hmm.
that that this was going to be even when so in school, I was in like an accelerated program that instead of whatever 3 or 4 years that it was an 18-month program. But with that, you're doing like 12 classes at a time, plus getting your hours in the clinic. And I was kind of like scraping by just to get by. And luckily, like I had a photographic memory that I could read a textbook and be able to get good grades. But I was also working part time at a radio station. I was working part time for an event management company, and I knew that this was. I was also hoping that maybe I would graduate and not even work in it. And I ended up working in it for like 3 months, and then found another job in event management and entertainment. And then I kind of got my heart broken in that industry, so I went back to dental for about a year before I started my social media business.
Okay. When did the social media business start? What year was that?
That was 2016.
Okay. Yeah, that's like right around the time like I got into Instagram marketing in 2014.
Yeah.
And that's where I made my first 100K with like just a small following. And then we launched a Shopify store drop shipping and then got into like the top 1% of Shopify stores for traffic in the world
Oh,
actually
dang.
for and it was all Instagram organic and like meme accounts. I created um like I just brought all the meme account admins into a Telegram community and created a shout for shout community, and then built up so much reciprocity that they were like, "Oh my God, you've helped all of us grow." Like some accounts that have like 10 million followers now, I helped them grow like to their
Wow.
first 100K. Yeah.
Dang. That's
Um,
impressive.
and then I built up so much reciprocity just creating that community and helping everyone grow for free that when it came time for them to promote my products, my Shopify store, it was like pennies on the dollar for what they normally charge everybody else.
That's
So
perfect.
it
Win-win.
was awesome. Yeah. So in your social media era in 2016, how did that start? Like, what was that like? What were the ups and downs? Tell us about it.
Well, it was kind of funny that I went into it by accident, which I feel like is the best ways for entrepreneurs
Hmm.
to fall into their career. I was doing social media for the dental office, and that was going well.
Hmm.
That people would come into the office and be like, "Oh, I hate going to the dentist, but because of your social media content that makes you guys seem personable and funny, if I have to go to the dentist, I'll come here." And then as a result, the dentist had other business owner friends that he started referring me to his friends, and kind of overnight I had this business. And at the time I like didn't even really know that you could make money doing this. Like I was just doing it for fun. Again, great way to
Hmm.
for entrepreneurs to start a business, like just something that you're doing for fun, be able to
Yeah.
monetize it.
And the
And
difference that I'm already hearing, though, Marley, is that you were doing it was copywriting, it was
mm,
branding. It wasn't just
yeah,
like, if you meet somebody at the grocery store and they're like, "Oh yeah, I do social media for businesses." It's like, what? You schedule their posts, like they
sure.
give you
Yes,
pictures and you write the captions with Chat GPT. There's no branding, there's no personality, there's no copy. It's
totally.
just scheduling content. Yeah.
And
But
back then
you,
there was no chat GPT.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But you were
No.
doing more of the branding. I hear, you said that somebody had mentioned like, the personality and the
Hmm.
way that you made the dentist office like feel more approachable on social media was what
Yeah.
started getting you work, right? Referrals instead of out pursuing opportunities, which is an amazing testament to how good you are at what you do.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah, one of the other fun clients that I had, which was funny at the time when I first got them, I was like, "This is going to be so boring. What am I going to do?" It was a plumbing client. I'm like, "What am I supposed to post about? Like toilets and leaky faucets? What the heck?"
Hmm.
And what I did was I ended up creating characters out of their service technicians. And so there was one guy who was really good at improv, and he was really good at doing an Australian accent. So I turned him into Plumber Dundee, and we would make funny videos where he would be like under the sink with all all these like pipes, you know, hanging down, and he'd be like, I'm literally in the plumbing jungle right now. And like, he would just be really funny in his content. And then people would call the plumbing office, or, you know, the office, and request him to be their service technician. So that was kind of a fun way of taking what could be boring content and making it fun.
Yeah, I will definitely say that my angle with everyone at the time with like Shopify stores and stuff, like it was all Facebook ads. Everybody was teaching Facebook ads. I bought a training from Alex Becker was launching a training with this guy, Devin Zander. I bought the training. It was like $250, just how to put together the Shopify store the right way, because I'm all about, you know, Russell taught me a long time ago, find the who, not the how. And so I found people that were successful in it. And this is my first like time doing anything really. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Facebook ads, like you guys just seem like you're training based on playing it safe. I'm like, I don't play it safe. And so I was like, I'm not running Facebook ads. I'm going to burn cash on this crap. I don't want to. I was like, I'm going to grow meme accounts. Me and my wife are going to grow our own meme accounts organically. And we're going to create the content that is geared towards our ideal customer. And then once we launched the store, we had like 15,000 followers. We grew to like 15,000 followers total between the two of us over the course of like 3 months of like picking the products on the back end, designing the store, doing everything on the back end. And then day one, when we launched, we made $1,000 instead of throwing money into Facebook ads. And so like I just say that because like it ties into the comedic angle, right? I've always known that comedy is one of those like croc brain bypassers, right? Where you can actually get somebody engaged and they won't even realize they're being sold until it's time to buy, right? And now they're already
it's so
excited
disarming.
to buy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
Yep.
so fun.
I love it. And so, all right, you're doing like some, you know, some Plumber Dundee stuff, and then then what happens from there?
From there, I guess I started like joining Facebook groups to learn what am I doing? Like, how much do I charge for this? And the kind of funny part about this was, I joined a Facebook group for social media managers so that I could like, learn, what are you guys doing? And how are you managing these things? And, I remember asking, and they're like, how much are you charging? Like when I have clients that ask me how much my services cost, I'm so new to this. I didn't even know you could do this. And, a lot of them were like, I'm charging like $300, but I'm going to increase my price to $400 soon. And like my eyes nearly popped out of my head because I was like, I just said $2,000 and they said yes. And I'm brand new to this and I just don't even know what I'm doing. But I took like, well, what's my dental hygiene salary and how many hours is it going to take for me to do this? And, you know, I estimated, and because I was met with these social media managers who, whether it was money mindset or whether I was just delusional, I was like, well, I got to deliver now. And so I started learning everything. I started learning Facebook ads and funnels and all the things. And from there started doing SEO and making some websites. And then I started to really enjoy YouTube for my clients because growing up, my dream was always to make movies in Hollywood. So I was like, I get to kind of make movies for entrepreneurs about their business on YouTube. And then so I started, my social media agency began to specialize in YouTube.
Okay. Love it.
Interesting.
And so you said that you started joining Facebook groups and stuff. When did you first, you know, because I've seen you on stage at FHL, I've seen you with Russell, I've seen you with Steven, I've seen you in the ClickFunnels world for years, right? When did you first, like, who was the first person that you met, or like, what was the first ad that you saw that was like, oh my God, everything is about to change? Because that's what happened with me. When I saw the perfect web, and this is a long time ago, when I saw the perfect webinar ad and I got this in the mail with the little like cardboard stock of like Russell's caricatures, and I was still in the Shopify world, and I was like, wait, okay, this is the next level. This is where everything is going to change now. This makes so much sense. And I was trying to apply like order bumps and things, and the tech just wasn't there yet on the Shopify side of things. And that's a whole journey,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to apply what Russell was teaching to Shopify. Because they didn't get it. Shopify had like couldn't get an order bump. You couldn't add multiple. There was just no sales psychology whatsoever on the Shopify side of things to
Mm-hmm.
increase your order value and things like that. So, but when did that like aha moment happen for you? Like, who was the first person that you started working with that was in the ClickFunnels world?
Um, I remember getting the marketing in your car. It came on like a
The
USB at the
podcast?
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that on a USB, and I think from there started listening to some podcasts. Alex Sharfin's podcast was
Hmm.
by
Who's
far my favorite.
officiating your wedding,
He's
right?
officiating the wedding. Yes, it's so, oh
That's
my gosh,
awesome.
we all cried when we asked him. Super special, that like
That's
such a
cool.
full circle moment, that he's really supported me in so much of my life, my business, and now to have him be a part of the wedding is so special. But yeah,
That's awesome.
his podcast I binged, and
Mhm.
it was one of those things where it felt like he's inside my head. Like, how does he know my problems? How can he communicate this in a way that I didn't even know how to? And I feel like that's such a superpower, that when someone can communicate your own problems better than you can, you just immediately trust that they have the solution. So when his program first came out, this must have been like 2018 or something, I was like, I don't even know what it is. Take my money. I'm all in.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I love it. It's so funny. You when someone can communicate to you in a way that makes you feel like they understand your problems as well as you do, or even better.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just like, take my money, like, please, like, you have the solution. I know you do. It's funny because like we do a 2 call close we do AI sales infrastructures for like medium to like enterprise level businesses. And we do like a 2-page Google Doc after the discovery call. And when I'm about to hop off the discovery call, I ask them, I'm like, is there anything else I need to know or understand, or you think I don't understand well enough and I need more information? Because when I come back to the second call with you and present this, the solution, the Google Doc to you, I need to know that, like, if you don't feel like I understand your problem as well as you do or better, and that my solution is the only solution that is going to get you to the next level, then I didn't do my job and serve you well enough on this call. So I need to know and understand, like, make sure that there's nothing that we may have missed or need to dial in on.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's so true.
Yeah.
Um, and now we have an AI that does it for us. We just click and drop the transcript, and it's like 98% dialed in. But
Isn't
that's
that
something
so
that we
crazy?
built out.
Things have
Which,
absolutely changed.
yeah, I mean, we did manual Google Docs, hundreds of them, right? And
Hmm.
then because even with ChatGPT, we couldn't get like, you can make custom GPTs in ChatGPT. It's not the same as like what we've been able to build out. It's
Yeah.
actually like it takes a lot of um, precision to like take a transcript from an entire call and have the psychology of exactly like line by line on just a 2-page Google Doc to know what to put where. Like we would spend at least an hour on a Google Doc. I mean, we're talking
Totally.
30K or plus or more deals. It's worth the time. But now to have an AI do it as well, if not better, especially when you're slammed, right? If you don't have time before that next call, it's incredible. Um,
Yeah.
so Alex and Russell were kind of like your you know, uh, tandem introduction into the ClickFunnels world. When did you join like your first like coaching program from someone in ClickFunnels, or like, because there's a natural ascension that kind of Russell has orchestrated, right? It's like you come into the world, you either come in through like OFA, or you come in through something like that, or you come in through somebody who has a program in the ClickFunnels world, and then you make your way into the community that way. So like, tell us about your journey in the ClickFunnels world to like speaking
Yeah.
on stage and all that stuff.
Alex Sharfin was my first. He was
Mhm.
like the first big mastermind $25,000 investment, which at the time felt like, oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
can't. I mean, coming from a dental hygienist salary, it was like, this is a huge investment.
Yeah.
But 1,000% worth it. And if he ever comes out with programs like that again, like hands down, I'm in. I trust him and love him so much. So worked with him on building his program at the time was about operations, like how to have the right team around you, strategic planning, because otherwise I was just totally flying by the seat of my pants. And then after that, I didn't go through any of like the OFA or 2 Comma Club. I actually just got an invitation to join Inner Circle. So I joined Russell Brunson's Inner Circle from there.
Cool. Love it. And what year was that?
I think that was also 2018.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so from there you you joined Inner Circle, and then this is your first time meeting Steven?
Yeah, so I saw Steven at events and stuff, but
Hmm.
always at a distance. I'd never really talked to him. At one point, he had a post out or something of like, "Hey, I need help with my YouTube. Who's the best person for that?" My name got tagged a bunch of times, and so he had hired me at one point. But even working with him, I was working with his team. Like I never really actually talked to Steven. And funny enough, there was one time at an Inner Circle event, I went up and introduced myself. I was like, "Hi, I'm Marley." And that was, I mean, that was it. "Hi, Marley, nice to meet you." And he's like, "Hi," as if he doesn't know who I am. And I'm like, "I work on your YouTube channel." And he's like, "Oh, cool, cool." And then, his right hand sitting next to him was like, "Oh yeah, Marley, we talk all the time." So it's funny that I actually felt at the time that this is so weird. This guy that I'm working on his channel doesn't know who I am. He must be
Yeah.
like super introverted or, whatever. So we knew of each other, saw each other at events,
Hmm.
but really hadn't talked for like years.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well,
It's actually,
based on what I've heard about Steven, it's not too surprising.
oh yeah. I guess apparently getting him to text back is a difficult thing. I hope he texts you back better than he texts other people back.
I'm
Apparently
very
that's a
lucky
thing.
that
I've heard
I am.
friends of his tell me he's notorious for being a bad texter.
You know what? He's in the cave, and that is his superpower. And if I can support him in his genius, it's like we joke about like, leave him alone, let him be in the cave with his whiteboard. I'll like push food under the door. That's a joke. But when he has that space, he comes out with masterpieces. Like the whiteboards, the windows in our house are like a beautiful
Hmm.
mind. So I'm really proud of being able to be the one next to him while he's doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
And he's not yelling at the camera anymore, right?
Yeah, he definitely has the stage persona, and he'll joke about that time of like, "Oh yeah, when I was like the yelling Steven, that was before I did, therapy." But it's also it really impacted a lot of people. So it's funny when
Yeah,
people see him on stage now, they're like, "You're different." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't need to be as hypey." But it
I
totally
told you
works
like
too.
back when I was trying to incorporate funnels into my Shopify store, I joined the One Funnel Away challenge, and he was like he it was mainly his trainings at that time. I think it was like 2018, maybe 19. And I was like, man, this guy gets me hyped up, man. I was like, I
Yes.
put it on like 2x speed. I didn't even need any caffeine. I was like, let's go. I was like super pumped.
Yeah.
It was funny. All right, cool. Um, uh, so met Steven, didn't know that he was your client, which is funny. Um, and I swear, like, we talked earlier, and it's like, we're doing some viral clipping for ClickFunnels right now. I don't think Russell knows who I am.
Mm,
Right? So like, if you do good enough work, you get on their radar though. Like,
totally.
so,
Yep.
and so, all right. Still doing the YouTube stuff. Was that the main focus at that point? Was managing people's YouTube channels in Inner Circle?
Yeah, I even had an offer where it was like 6 months and 3 days. I'll fly out to you, and for 3 days, we're gonna just film 6 months worth of content, and then for the next 6 months, I'll produce it and put it out there. And it was a great offer, but it was also not sustainable because my life was constantly on the road. I hardly got to
Mm.
sleep in my own bed, and I did that for like 2.5 years. And the only
It's like
reason
the
why I
gym
stopped
launch of
was,
YouTube.
you know what? That's funny. I didn't even think about
Mm.
it like that. Kind
Mm.
of, yeah. Um, and uh, and the only reason why I stopped doing it was because the pandemic happened, and
Mm.
thankfully, I mean that forced me to find a different path, which was great.
Mhm. Okay. And so during the pandemic, you were forced to find a different path. What was that path?
Well, I actually previously to that I had started creating because already I was like I can't be on the road all the time. And also not everyone wants done for you or can afford done for you. There's obviously limits to when to having an agency. So I started to create courses and coaching programs to be able to serve more people. So that actually put me in a position where I had a challenge at the time that was awesome. It was called the 21-day Infinite Impact Challenge. And it was 21 days to like get your content launched and running and monetized. And then I had also partnered with a studio in Salt Lake City that at the time I had my clients fly out to their studio in Salt Lake, and then they did all the filming and production so that I could fulfill without me necessarily having to be the one to travel, that the clients would just come to our studio in Salt Lake.
Nice. Okay. And so how did the pandemic impact all that? What was the shift because of all that?
Yeah, well, it was so great that I actually was able to kind of flip the revenue from being all focused on the agency to being focused on courses and coaching programs, which I think is actually, for me personally, like I still have some agency clients, but for my lifestyle and nervous system, having courses and coaching programs and people that I can work with in that capacity is just a better fit for what I want to do.
Okay. So would you say you prefer the, like, is it the volume versus like, so like for us, for example, right? Like our minimum service for AI sales infrastructure starts at like 30K, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 90-day working period. And it's obviously very intensive. Our goal is to get them at least a 2x ROI in that 90 days. And there's a lot that goes into that. And each client is different, each business is different. There's personality differences, all kinds of stuff. And then versus like, I think it's so funny. Everyone is different, right? Because we're so busy as entrepreneurs. I can't do courses or coaching. I have to pay for a service where I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting like white glove, where I can stay high level, right? And we were just on the Iman Gadzhi's leaderboard for a challenge that he just did, and we actually didn't win the leaderboard going through the challenge, though nobody in that challenge knows that. We just were on the leaderboard for cash collected in WAP as a payment processor, but it actually wasn't through the challenge. But we're leveraging it to our advantage because, hey, we're on the leaderboard, right? But making the time to go through that course and apply, it feels so entry level now. So
Yeah.
you prefer the time leverage of coaching and courses, or or is it more of a preference of like helping people who are just getting started? What is it for you that makes you lean more towards that?
Yeah, definitely. Time leverage is amazing. I
Hmm.
love being able to help more people in a different container. And the done for you clients that we do have, or the agency clients, or the people that we still often build funnels for, we want to work with fewer and less frequent.
Hmm.
Sorry, this cat. I have like an earring here that I'm trying to keep him entertained with.
Yeah. How old is
Sorry.
he? It's fine.
3 months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he doesn't care. He's just like, come
Yeah,
on, let's do it.
he's good. All right. Anyway, yeah, I like seeing the transformation of more people and also the community aspect. Like, I totally agree that when I have a need in my business, I love to be able to have a service that I can just like get the fastest access and speed to result. And I think that that's it. I want to be able to serve people, whether they're at like kind of beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And people, the higher up in the value ladder they go, like they're just paying for more access, more ease, more speed. But
Hmm.
there's also a transformation that comes through in a group setting that you can't get one-on-one. Like, I would totally argue that, maybe when I first joined, let's say Alex Sharfin's mastermind,
Hmm.
my first mastermind that I ever joined, like, of course it's awesome to have one-on-one with someone
Hmm.
that has the results and can mentor you. But then there's also this like peripheral transformation that comes from being around people who are also doing it that you just can't get in a one-to-one setting. So it's
Yeah,
cool to be able
no,
to
definitely.
facilitate for that for clients
I
too.
wanna dig into that a little bit, and just speaking from personal preference. So like when it comes to hiring other services, Kevin and I are definitely on the done for you side of the table. You know, like you said, it's easier for us to do that as busy entrepreneurs. I'm sure you can relate. But what's your take on, and it sounds like you're specifically talking about providing the service or providing the offer to the end user. Whenever you are able to see the transformation, that gives you something that offering a done for you service to them does not give you. Is
Mhm.
that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, in anything we create, we're always designing for transformation. But I think that in courses, events, coaching programs, like group offerings, there's that element of like the community. And sometimes, like,
Mm,
have you ever been in a program where maybe you weren't as connected with the leader, but the community is what made you stay because you're like, oh,
mhm.
this person, this connection, this networking. Like, I've totally
Yeah.
had that where I was in a program and ended up actually like having a falling out with the leader, and then was like, well, but my people are here, so for that reason, I'll still stay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. Kevin and I both come from the coaching world. That's where I got my start. And so and we haven't done any coaching offers, course offers until just recently. We're launching another one that teaches people how to do what we do with AI as a biz op. And I'm really excited about that, primarily because of the revenue that it represents and the transformations that I can result and the ease of deliverability that it's going to
Mm-hmm.
have now that AI is in play. And now that all of our IP is packaged up into a snapshot, makes it really easy. You can get somebody results without having to like work 20 hours on their project and then, have to manage things ongoing, have to rebuild client projects. That's where I'm at personally. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
And so it's good to hear from your perspective that that's kind of, something that you went through as well. I thought that was interesting. Um, cool. So when it comes to having like pivoting from meeting Steven and going into your mentorship with Alex, when did things kind of start pivoting into more serious conversations with you and Steven?
You mean as in like dating?
Yeah, as
um
in dating.
yeah, we so I'm from Canada, and I was living in Canada at the beginning of 2020. The beginning of 2020, also before the world shut down, I spoke at Funnel Hacking Live. And right before Funnel Hacking Live, I announced that I was going through a divorce, which was really interesting timing, that I have this like career pivotal highlight moment of speaking on stage in front of 5,000 people, in front of like the community that I feel like is the town I grew up in. And to have this, it was totally a goal to be able to speak on this stage, while at the same time my personal life is like kind of falling apart. And so I had announced it publicly about 3 weeks before. I'd also changed my last name from my married name to Jaxx. And at Funnel Hacking Live there was also an event right before it, the Two Comma Club cruise, that I saw Steven for the first time after that, and he was like, "Hey, I heard, saw your announcement, and I'm going through divorce too. I haven't, publicly said anything about mine yet." And we kind of just became friends through like mutual,
You
shared
trauma bonded.
experiences. A little bit of a
Yeah.
trauma bond at the
Yeah.
moment. And we talked for a little bit on that cruise, and at Funnel Hacking Live, and then we both went back our separate ways. I went to Canada, he went to Boise, and several months later, when the pandemic happened, my best friend lives here in Boise, and she's like, "Why don't you come down here and live with me instead of being alone up in Canada?" And for a long time, I like put it off, put it off, put it off. And then, funny story is, I was actually dating a guy in Omaha. And when the pandemic started, he's like, "Why don't you come here? Let's be together. It's crazy, but I feel like you're someone that I want to spend my life with, and we can get married." And I was totally in my rebound from my divorce, but could not see that at the time. I had definitely not gone through some healing. But I went to Omaha, and it did not work out. And from there, that's when I agreed to go to Boise and live with my best friend Nikki. And it's so interesting to think, like, I never imagined living in Boise. And I'm so grateful for Omaha, because anytime that something like Omaha was really the relationship that didn't work out was really a gateway to all the therapy that I needed to do to be able to enter a healthy relationship, and also see that I was the common denominator in a lot of like my business struggles, my relationship struggles. And now whenever I look at something in my life that didn't work out the way that I wanted to, I kind of have this code word or phrase to myself of like, maybe it's just Omaha, because Omaha ended up being the thing that I wanted so badly. And when it didn't work out, it led to the best thing I ever had in my life. So that's what brought me to Boise. And being here, there's, little entrepreneur gatherings and things. And so I started seeing Steven more and more. Funny enough, we had the same therapist, and we'd like cross each other in the parking lot sometimes. And then from there, kind of started.
How big is Boise for you guys to have the same therapist, or were you guys like? I'm like, I've never been to Boise. I'll be coming to your wedding soon, so it'll be my first time. But I'm like, damn, this place, it's like my hometown of like 300 people in the high school. Like, how big is Boise?
No, he was a therapist that like I feel like a bunch of people in our circle had seen. He worked with a lot of entrepreneurs in this space. So I didn't know that he was also seeing Steven as a client at the time, but it was another mutual friend that said, this is a guy that I go see, go check him out too. What funny.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So real quick, before I want to get into the wedding, and there's so much to talk about the wedding. So I'm like antsy about it, but I want to touch on something that gave me goosebumps while you were talking. You said that, there was your personal life was in, turmoil. You were going through this divorce, and this was, it was a dream of yours to be able to speak on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. And my first introduction to Marley, I didn't know wasn't Marley Jaxx, maybe a week or so prior, but was Marley Jaxx on stage at FHL, right? And I always wondered, and I wanted to ask you, is Jaxx with 2 X's, is that your actual name, or is that your personal brand that you've turned into your moniker?
Yeah, it is my legal name, but it is not a name that I was born with. And it's a really tender story. So when I was going through my divorce, it was pretty painful, as any divorce is. And of course, looking forward to this event that I was about to speak on this huge stage, I didn't want to enter that stage with a last name that at the time was like quite triggering for me. And so I'm with my mom, and I was like, Mom, you named me once. I need you to name me again. Like, just pick a name and that'll be my name. And it was like, I kid you not, 30 seconds later, she said Jaxx. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, it's not a name that we had ever said or thought of. And she said, yeah, Jaxx. And I'd spell it with 2 X's. And I don't, it just popped in my head. And my mom is not very, like, she's not like a religious, spiritual person, but I totally feel like that was God. And so we started like playing around with like how you write it and autograph and stuff. And that was it. Like, we looked up the meaning of it, and the meaning of it was someone who can overcome any obstacle that life throws its way, which of course was very symbolic for me. And it was one of those things that I didn't have to ask anyone's opinion. I didn't share it with anyone until it was just like, this is my new name. And it was an immediate yes.
I love it. See, I knew there was something in there that was important to get you to speak about. And the reason I knew, obviously, because I got goosebumps, and I feel very in tune with following my intuition. So I'm grateful that I got to ask that question.
I'm so glad you did.
I don't know if you were able to, how often you've told that story, but it's my first time hearing it. And the reason I wanted to know is because we're friends with Bart Miller, and he talks a lot, and he's, said it to me on the phone, and then he said it on Funnel Hacking Live stage. And I'm like, well, now it's not such a cool personal story because you told the world. I can't tell everybody that you told me on the phone. But anyway, he talks about taking on this, this new identity to be able to leave behind and to be able to step in and out of it, right? And even you see it with Russell, like seeing Russell on Kristen's on the podcast with Kristen wearing a Gucci hoodie is like, yes, go Russell. Like, it is just so exciting to see like his style now. And for anybody that knows, Bart is part of that. And so he talks about like taking on this new identity. And so have you ever talked to Bart about his like teachings around this, like the Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, Eminem, Slim Shady, that whole concept that he
I've
teaches?
definitely I've
The
heard
alter
him speak
ego.
about it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it, and that was definitely part of. I've done speeches too where I talk about like Norma Jean and Marilyn
Hmm.
Monroe and
Yep.
how she just like she can turn it on. And it's funny to think now, like now that I'm reflecting on it, I sometimes forget that I ever had a name other than Marley Jaxx,
Mm.
and it just feels like me now. But when I reflect on it, I'm like, yeah, I can totally see that obviously there was a lot of healing and growth that comes through pivotal
Hmm.
events in your life, like a divorce. But yeah, it's like that was a different lifetime for me and a different person.
That's so awesome. Um,
Mm.
all right, cool. Let's get right into the wedding. I'm trying to look
Mhm.
for a transition here. We're just gonna rip it off like a
Jump
band-aid.
in.
So, Marley, is the $30,000 average wedding cost a scam? And how does your model expose that?
I mean, I don't think it's a scam. I think it's just something that adds up. It's like, oh, well, you have the photographer here and the catering here and the venue here and blah 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 blah, and it just gets so expensive. And I I I totally debate this in my mind a lot because it's like, well, it should be the most important day of your life. It is so special. Like, when else are you going to have all the most important people around you to celebrate you and your love for a day other than your funeral, which you're not going to be present for. So I think that this is a really important event. And I think that people should have the experience that they want, which is something that I've pushed back on as we are creating this new model for weddings. And, there's people that love it, that hate it. We'll get into that. That are like, well, if you can't afford to have a wedding, then maybe you shouldn't get married. Well, maybe it's not about affording it. Maybe it's also
Yeah.
just, what about another option? Like,
Hmm.
instead of I love comparing it to Uber or Airbnb. Like, instead of getting an Uber, you take a
That's one
taxi.
of my
Instead of
questions. You
Right. Instead of a
got me.
hotel, you get an Airbnb. It's another option. And I think that it brings it back to it takes a village. Like, I have had so much fun in planning our wedding. And of course, it's so disruptive to hear the idea of, wait, they're selling tickets to their wedding. And just that as a hook gets people to light up and their ears perk up and like, wait, tell me more. Whether, it's kind of fun to see the transition in their mind from, I don't get it, to I get it, and they can from there decide if they like it or not. But they don't have to. Like, that's the funny thing when people are like, "Oh, I would never buy tickets to a wedding." Then great, don't come. That's totally fine. I would never buy tickets to a baseball game because it's not for me. But there is absolutely an audience for it.
But you'd buy me a gift that cost more than the
Exactly.
tickets that I'm gonna
Exactly.
have to go and exchange because it's ugly as shit.
It gives options,
And
right?
then
Yeah,
lie to
that's
you about it when you come over for a dinner party about, oh, it's in, I don't bring that out. And
yeah. Where's
I
that
don't know,
gravy
whatever.
boat?
Yeah, seriously, like
Yeah.
just nonsense. Like I, it's just, I love what you're doing. I think that the entire wedding industry is antiquated. My wife and I have been together since we were 17. I won't tell you how
Wow.
long that's been, but when we were 25, um, our son was born and he wasn't planned. And we're like, well, shit, this wasn't what we wanted to do. Like,
Mhm.
she grew up Catholic. I didn't grow up with any denomination. I wasn't baptized until I was 31 or some, yeah, somewhere in my 30s. Um, and so for us, we were like, we weren't ready to buy a house, and we hadn't figured out what we wanted to do with our life, right? I hadn't even started my entrepreneurial journey yet. I was working in sales. I was doing great, but I was pulling 70, 80 hours a week. I was hitting 180% of my quota, making like probably anywhere from like twice as much or more than other people in my job. But I was like, this isn't for me. I know this isn't for me, especially when our son was born, because
Mhm.
all my entire motivation in, like, you have that one thing that drives you, and everything else kind of orbits around it. And prior to my son being born, the one thing that was driving me was success.
Mhm.
And then as soon as my son was born, it shifted to time. And so I'm like trying to buy back my time. It's like
Yeah.
4 years at one company. Then my son's born on the third year. I'm like, I got to get out of here. 2 years at another company, a year at another company, 6 months at the next one, 2 months at the next one. And then I get hit by a car because God's like, dude, do you not see that I'm trying to get you to go on this entrepreneurial journey? You're not
Oh,
listening.
dang.
Wham!
Yeah.
Like, look at the pattern here. Like, hello, you think you're down there doing this all by yourself? Like, I'm trying to show you. But anyway, so
What's
we
that saying? It's
decided.
like God will give you an open door or a 2x4 or something like that.
I've never heard that, but I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so boom, got hit by a car. And I'm talking about walking across the street, car sped up to hit
Oh my
me,
God.
smashed his windshield with the side of my head. Like I got a blood vessel. Like, everybody's got, like, when they get mad, they get these little, like, veins that
Yeah.
pop out on the side of their head. Mine has, like, a hose bubble in it. So, like, if my blood pressure goes up, it swells up. But anyway,
Jeez.
I walked away clean though because I was highly intoxicated. Ironically enough, we were coming from a wedding, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Wow.
And my wife and I. And so I walked away clean. I, landed on the ground, legs all mangled in the wrong direction and everything. My wife thought I
Dang.
was dead. Um, my Our best friend who saw it happen. My wife and our best friend saw it happen. They were
This is
standing
so
on the
stressful to
sidewalk that
hear.
I
Oh my
stepped
gosh.
off of and saw me get hit within 3 feet of it happening. They watched this. My friend, she was a hairdresser for over a decade. For the next couple of days, she's calling me like, I can't sleep. This is so fucked up. She's like, I can't stop seeing you get hit and you on the ground. She's like, I'm quitting hairdressing. I'm going to nursing school because I never want to feel like I can't help someone ever again. She's like,
Whoa.
I can't sleep. She's like, I'm so fucked up over this, babe. Like, I, I can't. She's like, she's a nurse still. This was in 2012.
That is quite the origin story. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And that's my entrepreneurial origin story too. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So shifted somebody else's entire career and my own all in one moment. Um,
What kind of car was it?
it was a late model Ford Taurus with run flats and tinted windows. Hint, it was an undercover cop and he hit 5 other people that night.
No. What the actual? What, like, was he drunk?
No, he was out just being a piece of shit, abusing his ability to get away with shit.
No.
Yep. And
That's insane.
the EMTs told my wife that 5 other pedestrians in the area had been hit that night. And I was we parked on a one-way street, met up with our friend and our other friend. She was the manager of the bar that we were going to hang out at after the wedding. And the bar was closed. And the reason I got hit by the car is because my friend was like, hey, if you guys want to drink anything or if you want me to make any food, like kitchen's closed, but I could, whip something up, you need to have some cash. And we just came from a wedding. I didn't have any cash. So I had to go across the street to the ATM. That's how I got hit.
Oh my
The
gosh.
camera from the bar that we were going into was captured the whole thing. She called me up the
Wow.
next day. She's like, hey, Kev, I have the footage. I'm going to put the DVD on the desk in the office. When you're ready to, like, be up and about, come and pick it up. I came to pick it up. It was gone. She's like, it was just here. I put it underneath the calendar. You know how every desk has that big calendar? She's like, I put it
Yeah.
under here. She's like, there's no way it would be gone. I don't understand what's happening.
They didn't have a copy of it either?
She asked the other managers. They said that during the day, she didn't work the day shift. During the day, a police officer came in and said that he needed it for the police report. I
Come
went to the
on.
police department. I got the runaround for months, never filed the police. There was no police report, nobody I could talk to, nothing. And now, mind you, this is Hartford, Connecticut, Hartford police. If you live locally to this area, you know that police department is not on the up and up.
Oh,
I was
geez.
like, I'm done. I'm like, people are like, you should sue the city of Hartford. I'm like, because if they're willing to hit me and cover it up, what do you think they're going to do if I'm trying to expose that?
Yeah. Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
I'm good. I'm just walking away from this thing. I'm lucky to have my life. I didn't break
Yeah,
any
protect your
bones
peace.
because I was so drunk, right? I'm like, I got an entrepreneurial journey and a wife and a son to worry about. I'm like, I'm not like, that is a distraction, right?
Yeah.
That's not why God got me hit by a car, to sue a police
Uh,
department.
Yeah,
right?
there's the phrase for your like speaking engagements when you talk about this, like God will give you an open door or hit you with a 2x4 or a Ford Taurus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love it.
Jeez,
Um, so sorry to derail, but the
crazy story.
yeah. So
Hey, so when you
um
come to the wedding, just be careful on your way home. Like it's
yeah,
get right in an Uber and just go straight to your hotel, please.
yeah. I'm good. It's been a while. I've been divinely guided and protected ever since. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
um so um the reason that I told this story though is we were like, we're not having a wedding. And our family was so upset about it. I'm like, I'm not going into debt for you guys to have a good time. My wife
Right.
is the one who's going, it's her decision. She decided
Hmm.
she didn't want to waste money. If we're not going to waste money right now getting into debt for the next 30 years in a house, then why would we get into debt to have you guys have a good time? This isn't what I
Hmm.
want, my wife said, right? And so she's like, I just want to go to Vegas and elope on 10-10-10.
Great.
And so we went to Vegas and we attempted to elope on 10-10-10. And we got so drunk that we ended up getting married in San Diego City Hall on 10-12-10. But we
Good
have a great
times.
memory and we had a good time.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Yeah, dude,
it was,
if you hadn't done that, my birthday is 10/10, so you know
yeah,
how
I
divine
know we
of
wouldn't even,
alignment that
we
would have
would be
been.
celebrating my anniversary and your birthday on the same
On
day.
your
That wouldn't have
birthday.
worked out for our friendship. So,
Yeah. Friendship
so
off. Sorry.
so now, the reason I told that story is because I truly understand and see why you guys are doing what you're doing, right? Like,
Mm.
you know, regardless of whether you can afford it, which I'm sure you and Steven can, it's not about that, it's the principle, right?
Yeah.
And for you guys, you're like, fuck this. We're entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers, we are disruptors, and this is what we're going to do instead. Okay?
Yeah.
So, now and mind you, you've mentioned, and this is statistical, right? Everybody seems to know this and doesn't really think about it when they get married, is financial stress is the number one marital conflict, right?
Yes.
And so is a profitable wedding the ultimate entrepreneurial agreement for a debt-free start? Because the debt is what starts the fighting and starts
Yeah.
the problems.
I also think that your way down the aisle, like planning a wedding, can also expose stress fractures.
Hmm.
And in future programs that I want to create, which like this wedding is absolutely the case study of, and there's things that I've learned
Hmm.
that I did not see coming that I'm like, I'm so glad that we're doing this as a case study instead of just like, hey, here's theory, here's a wedding funnel, and here's how to do it. Like we are actually walking this through. I hope that there's also that, like in a lot of times where we create products for our clients, it's like a sell them what they want, give them what they need.
Hmm.
Absolutely want to sell them like, here's how to either break even or profit on your wedding. But to give them what they need, I hope that I can also arm them with the right resources for their marriage moving forward of like, okay, what are the obstacles we're running into in planning this wedding? Because that's just one day. You have the
Hmm.
rest of your lives to have conflicts and challenges, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like when you get married, you are agreeing that this is your partner that you're going to go through life with, and that you are going to trigger each other, but you're in a safe container to be able to, because then that's what's going to lead to your growth. But
Hmm.
if we can't get past a wedding day without having full on meltdowns over like control or how much we're spending on florals or like stuff that really does that matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, as I mentioned, I've been married before, and hindsight is 2020. And there's things that I look back on that I'm like, I overlooked that. And if I would have maybe had some support, some guidance in like helping reflect, not just, and I'm not blaming, like, how did I react in certain situations that could indicate future situations? Another thing that was eye opening for me in creating this is like, of course we talk about the financial debt that people take on for a wedding, but there's also this emotional debt. Like every single Hollywood movie that you think of weddings, like there's that one with Anne Hathaway and Kate Hudson where they're best friends and they're both getting married and they happen to want to get married. They happen to get married on the same day, and then it ruins their friendship because they want this wedding planner and they want this venue and they're fighting over it. And at the end of the movie, you see them like they've ruined their friendship and what really matters, and then they have to make up for it and stuff. And I feel
Hmm.
like it's a very slippery slope for couples to fall into when they're planning this day, because there's so much weight on it that that's how the prices go up, and that's how they accidentally find themselves so much in debt. I did a Facebook Live debate with Akbar Sheikh because he at first didn't really like the idea, and he was telling me this story. By the end of that, he actually was like, "Okay, I actually see it," which is awesome. And like 95% of the comments were like really in favor, which was very. I actually had no idea what I was getting into. I was like, "Oh no, am I gonna get slammed on the internet here?"
We had Akbar on the podcast. He's a very
He's
polarized person in his opinions. He's awesome. Like it's so much fun to dig into topics with him. I love it. Go ahead.
Totally. He was telling me the story of a couple that he knew that they took out it was like $80,000 or something like that for a loan for their wedding. And before they even got the first like loan repayment bill back, they were already, signing up for divorce. And so I think that a wedding can be very exposing for a marriage. And I would love to help people with more than just the, hey, let's break even and not go into debt for the wedding. I think there's a lot more that will come to the surface when helping these couples to get to their wedding day.
Yeah. Are you gonna have like 2 Comma Club awards for your clients who like made $1 million off their wedding?
Yeah, break even brides or something like that. I've already thought of like the identity could be something like that. I think it'd be so cool if maybe there's an award for like, they broke even on their wedding, that they didn't have to spend any money. And if they make a profit, amazing. And I don't know what to expect when it comes to the profit. Like, if you're going to make $1 million from the wedding, I mean, what kind of audience and because the other thing to consider is when you sell tickets to a wedding, there's also an expectation. And the more expensive it is, the more criticism I think can come from that. So I'm also cautious in trying to create these revenue numbers because again, it's about the wedding, not about, I made $100,000. I don't want it to become like a revenue goal instead of like a marriage goal.
Understood. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you and Steven combined, obviously on your own, you guys are super talented, extremely knowledgeable and experienced in entrepreneurship, building offers, scaling offers. And so what would you say was like the biggest, maybe for you and for Steven, maybe it's different, but like, what were the things that you think from your past business experiences were the needle movers or the things that were most impactful about planning the wedding in this way then?
I mean, it's really cool that we can bring our marketing experience into this, into an event that is, I would say, most unlikely to be monetized. It's definitely surprising for people, but I think that because we know how to create content and how to speak to an audience and how to create offers that can be disruptive but can also create demand, has been really fun. Like, for more than just a wedding, we've actually turned into a 3-day thing that the day before we're doing a kind of relationship retreat day where we're bringing in best-selling authors and relationship speakers and doing a day on like entrepreneurial couples in relationship, because I think it's a whole different breed. So that's the day before the wedding. We also have a charity rehearsal dinner. There's the wedding day that will be, so beautiful and amazing, lots of surprises. And then the day after the wedding, we're doing a biohacking brunch. And so we've like created this offer around the wedding that instead of when people say like, this is just a money grab, first of all, the ticket's $57. Like that's less than what people would typically pay for a gift. And we're saying, this is the no toaster needed offer. Please do not bring us a toaster or a gift, just contribute to your seat at the table. And for other couples that do this, I would love, and this is something that I plan to help them with on their wedding funnels, their pages, like, hey, any profit that we make is going to go towards this. Like, no matter what you buy, you always want to know what's the story behind it. Like, why does this exist? What's the intention? What's in it for me? We need to create that for any offer. For us, and as you said, like, we don't need to sell tickets to afford a wedding. For some people, maybe they do. And for other people, I hope that they can say like, hey, we're going to put, if we make any profit from this, we're going to put it towards our honeymoon or a down payment on our house, or we've been wanting to start this business. This is going to give us a great start. And if this is someone that you love, like, wouldn't you be like, of course, I'll give you $100, $200, whatever, and help you celebrate your day. And I hope that also helps you start the rest of your life. For us, as I said, we don't really need that. Like, we have a house. I already got our honeymoon booked. if any, what we have done with this is we've partnered with Village Impact, which is a charity really close to our hearts. We went to Africa with them 2 years ago. And my goal is that it only costs $15,000 to build an entire classroom with them in Kenya. And I'm like, can I make at least $15,000 from this to be able to give to them? And I want to present them with a big check at the wedding. And actually, I have an idea that I think that we can get even more. And it's like crazy audacious, but I'm like, could we make six figures? Could we make $100,000 for the wedding from the wedding for them? And so that's kind of like my pie in the sky goal. And we're a month out, so we're working towards it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you about because I have heard I forget where I heard about your previous like tithing with you know, in Kenya and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you what was the goal with you know, donations and stuff, because I've been so busy. I'm still yet to go through the whole funnel. So we're gonna make sure we put the link in the on YouTube and on the podcast and stuff so everybody can go through it. I need to buy my ticket before I even air this episode, so I make sure I have one.
Yep. We got to close it down soon.
Yeah, for real. And I wanted to ask you real quick, just selfishly, did you get a chance to talk to Steven about the mini series that we discussed? Because I know you said you wanted to do that before the wedding, right?
Yes, I would love to find a time to do that. Yes.
Cool. Let's do it. All right, cool.
Okay.
So tell us about, you don't have to name names, obviously, but tell us about the wildest reaction you've got from people. Like, you know, it's one thing for the chat, the comment section to have an issue. Someone who you have like a relationship with, a friend, or that has just been like, that has given you guff, and maybe you overcame their initial reaction, or maybe it, you know, they're just like, this is a line in the sand for me. Because some people, and what I will say, especially in the religious community, they look at this as like, you're doing something that goes against the way that God intends for this to be, maybe.
Yeah, which I don't think that God wants you to go into debt. And I don't think going into debt for one day is sacred either. So that's kind of my argument there.
Yeah.
But the different responses we've gotten, like, I mean, it's funny. We've gotten funny responses of someone being like, can I pay to be in your bridal party? And I'm like, I'm going to say no to that one, but that's funny. Someone asked if they could send a cardboard cutout of them because they can't come in person. I thought that was really funny. There's also been people, I haven't yet, but I don't know. We're thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't want it to be like a distraction. I don't know.
Spend the money on turning yourself into a hologram and you got yourself a deal.
There we go. Yeah. An AI hologram.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. We've had, you know, one thing that like I actually struggled with at the beginning was when I sent out the invitations to people and was like, hey, we're doing something different and would love to have you. Like, we don't want gifts, but would you, buy a ticket to the wedding? And it just basically covers your seat at the table. And there were a lot of people who didn't respond, and like friends of mine. And I didn't know how to perceive that. Like, is it that they are just checking schedules, or is it that they think this is crazy and like they don't want to come? And so, as with anything in marketing, you have to follow up with people. And in the follow-up, that's where I find, oh yeah, I was checking with my wife, or yeah, I was checking into schedule. Like, and so being so new, I'm like taking this personally at first. And that was great for the case study to then when I teach this to other brides, like, hey, here's how to do this so that it's personal and that you get a response no matter what. But then there's also, I mentioned Akbar Sheikh that I did the Facebook Live debate with. He was one of the first people that was like, Marley, I think this is so weird. I think this is tacky. We're friends. We've been friends for a long time. I'm kind of like, I don't think he used the word offended, but it was like, it's icky to me that you're asking me for money for your wedding. And that was like the first jolt of like, oh no, am I ruining my reputation? What do I do here? But I also know about myself that I'm competent, that I can just like have a conversation with people. And also if we still disagree, that's still okay. And it was cool. We had a conversation about it and I like explained my heart and my reasoning behind it. And he, funny enough, was like, you could still get out of it. You could still back out and just say that it was a social experiment, like your cancel culture documentary. And I was like, no, I actually really believe in this. And I think it's going to help a lot of people. And then he's like, well, do you want to do a Facebook Live debate about it? And I was like, okay. And I said yes to it, not knowing if I was going to absolutely get slammed, and thankfully didn't. We've also had people in the comments that just, yeah, more of like, this is tacky, or uh, yeah, just like don't get it. But then I think once people actually hear the story behind it, because it's the same way that like when Uber or Airbnb came out, like get in a car with an unlicensed stranger,
Yeah.
stay in some stranger's house, like, but now it's just normal. And I think
Yep.
all disruptive and new ideas are strange at first, are weird at first until they're proven.
I think it's 2025, and I think saying something is tacky is an antiquated way to passive aggressively judge anyway. So shut up and mind your own business. My grandmother taught me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I don't think I listened all the
You
time,
know,
but yeah,
I don't mind. And I also,
the feedback is fine. Like it's all good. Yeah. But
yeah, getting the feedback
um,
is helpful because, as I said, we are the case study. I'm learning so
mm,
much from this. And if I teach this, when I teach this to brides and grooms, like they're going to get responses like this too. And
yeah.
there's going to be the pioneers at first that they have to pave a new way, and at first they're gonna have to walk through some uncharted territory.
Yeah. Was there any, like, so far, have you had any feedback that you were like, oh, actually, that's actually really good feedback, and you've applied it?
Definitely. I feel like all the time. I didn't think that we were going to get sponsors for the wedding until people just started to ask, can I sponsor the wedding?
Mm,
And it was like, oh, well, let's talk about that. We have someone that's sponsoring the water. Well, every single
hmm
person at some point is going to have a bottle of water in their hands. Like, of
hmm
course, we could put, the logo, the graphic, the QR code on the water that is then going to drive leads to them. We could do the same thing for the dinner, for the bar, for the DJ. Like, and that's another way that I could teach couples how to do this. That when I'm teaching these couples, it's not just selling tickets, it's also that they can get sponsorships, they can do brand deals, they can be affiliates, and then also showing them different ways to do things like, hey, you could trade your photography for if you have a skill that is equally beneficial. And some pushback on that has been like, well, you do
I
marketing,
heard
like
that
I can't
story
do that.
actually the other day.
Yeah, well,
The
but
story
you
of the
have,
photographer trading for the
yeah.
Jody was telling me.
We also, our venue, the venue that we're doing, I've become good friends now with the gentleman that owns it, and he's this like older guy that he's not on social media. He just wants to like make this beautiful, and he's like, he is his grass. I've never seen such fluffy grass. Like he cares so much about his land. He's like, I just want to mow the lawn. I just want to like create a good experience for people. But the marketing part of it, like I don't know. And so I started doing his social media. I've set up all these automations so that when people, come through the form on the website, there's a follow-up sequence. I mean, that stuff for me is so easy. For him, it's like I wouldn't even know where to start. So it was a great exchange that instead of me paying for his venue, I'm creating this for him, that he was getting calls on day one of me doing his social media. He will make more from what I did than me just paying him, which is what I want to create for every vendor that we work
Mm,
with or trade or do any kind of exchange with.
yeah, I love it. Okay, so I have a question now. Like you actually just sparked a curiosity in me when you said you have like automation set up and stuff. So how are you like, because this is so disruptive, and it feels like everybody I know is talking about it. I can't have a conversation. Well, maybe it's that I've been excited that you're coming on the podcast, so I bring it up to people that know you, but I feel like everywhere I go, people are talking about your wedding. So with that being in just kind of our world, like we have some mutual friends and stuff, and it's kind of a small world, and I'm hearing about it everywhere. I'm sure that that is an exponential situation when it comes to people who maybe don't have mutual friends, or it's that you have affiliates, you have other people promoting this. You're coming on our podcast. I think you've been on other podcasts leading up to this as well.
Mhm.
How are you handling all the because this is like because it's so disruptive, it's very there's a lot of questions. So
Mhm.
like how are you handling all the questions? Are people DMing you? Like what is the like at some point you don't want to be living and breathing just sitting in your DMs just explaining this to everyone. So what are you doing to make sure that people get the information they need beyond the funnel itself and the
Yeah. I
VSL?
mean, any messages that I get, I'm so happy to have conversations with people. And the questions have been like really easy, really awesome. Someone in my comments the other day was like, I have so many questions. And she asked the question of like, are people expected to give you a gift too? How are you going to know how many people are coming for catering and stuff? And so my response to that was like, yes, on the page it says, don't bring us a gift, just pay for your seat at the table. And then for catering numbers, I do have to have a cutoff or else my caterer is absolutely going to yell at me. But then I'm doing a content series. So every day on social media, just about every day, I make a video that's like day 12 of selling tickets to my wedding, and I give an update. And so it's also easy to reference those videos if people have a question that I can be like, hey, oh, awesome, I just answered that question here. If you have any other questions, let me know. But it's cool that people have been coming along for the ride. And I think that's actually a great content strategy for anyone to do, is day whatever of some kind of mission that you're on or goal that you're going after. And it's been fun. Oh my gosh, this was crazy. When I went to the dress store to get my final fitting for my dress, the owner of the store comes up to me. She goes, how many tickets have you sold? We are all watching. And I was like, what? You are like, I didn't know who she was. I didn't know that she was watching, but it's like exciting and also intimidating that I have no idea how many people are following along. And I get messages from people that are like, I have been watching this. I love how excited you are. It's contagious. And then it also helps every day that I post those videos that we sell more tickets, because more people see like, oh, this is for real. This is actually happening. And I can actually buy a ticket. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this content every day.
Yeah. Mind you, I was feigning ignorance. I knew that you were doing I just wanted the audience.
Great.
I've been watching the Marilyn Monroe story I heard the other day too while I was preparing for our podcast interview.
Okay.
So, all right. How is it like the media and sponsorship stuff, like, for selfish reasons, obviously, because we talked before we hopped on, but I do think anybody who's watching or listening, it'd be good for them to have a good understanding of like what makes sense for a sponsorship or a media, deal, and what doesn't, so that, you're only getting reached out to by people that actually are a good fit for what you're trying to accomplish. Because ultimately, still at the end of the day, this is your wedding, Marley. So like, there's a layer to this that I want to hear and understand, of like where you're drawing the line, like what you perceive as tacky, or like, whatever. I want to understand that too, from like the bride's perspective, because that's the big thing here, maybe that we haven't touched on, but I don't know if anybody else has touched on with you, is how far from the childhood dream of a wedding are you willing to go with this? Because now you're going to be teaching it to other women. You're going to have a lot of work on your plate, because this is like, I mean, there's a whole show about this, right? Like Bridezilla, like you have a big undertaking ahead of you, with this breaking tradition, I will say, right? Which is like, when you disrupt people's core paradigms, their core things that they cling to as human beings. And for women, their wedding day is one of those things. So let's talk about that.
Sorry, what was the question in that? How far am I willing to go
How
outside
far
of the
are
tradition?
you willing to go? And then in what way have you anticipated how you're going to manage this at scale, when this is something so important to every little girl in the world growing up, right? It's their day.
Yeah, I'm excited for when this becomes, and I have the webinar half written. I actually wrote it at the beginning of like doing all of this, but then left so many pieces open for like, what am I going to learn from it? Then I'm excited that as soon as the dust settles after the wedding, I would love to be able to put this out there as like, hey, wedding funnels, let me help you to monetize, break even on your wedding. And at first just like what we're doing with the case study, I think it's the most responsible thing to like tiptoe into it, of let me get a group of like 10 brides first. Let me case study it with them too, because I've done it for myself, but now I need to do it with other people too. And like, what are the obstacles I'm going to face when it's not someone that has an audience or has a marketing background or knows how to, is a communicator or can create content. Like there's going to be so many other obstacles that we'll face. And maybe some people won't want to sell tickets to their wedding, but they will be interested in doing sponsorships and brand deals or do affiliate marketing. Like there's other ways that I can also market this and offer this to people. And then what's also going to come up on like the mindset identity side, like you mentioned bridezillas. Am I opening myself up to an audience of bridezillas that are going to be really difficult to work with? I don't know,
Right?
to
I
be
mean, if we're
determined.
thinking about who our ideal client is, right? We're trying to like
Yeah.
build an offer around the people that we want to have in our tribe.
Yeah.
And, the uh first impressions of like if you're onboarding a client and they're a nightmare, chances are you're going to probably want to offboard them pretty quickly too, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you're you're dancing in flames. I like it.
Well, just like anything in any program we create, the onboarding always has like a mindset identity piece where we have some push pull language, even on the sales call before we even get to the sale, is like, here's who we work with, here's who we don't work with. If this is you, great. If this is you, don't buy this. And so I just like in any, in my content programs, I talk about like we are audacious. We say yes to overwhelm because overwhelm means you're stretching. And so I would probably apply those same mindset teachings to this program to talk about like, here's the us versus them. We are people who are innovative, we are creative, and we are doing something very different. The them, that's us. The them that we are going to combat against or is the villain is maybe the bridezillas. And there's like the language as they come right in here, like, hey, if anyone comes in here with any of that bridezilla energy, this is not for you, but we have an amazing community here if you would like to have that good attitude, and this might not even be an issue at all, but
Yeah.
I think just with anything, we always have that in the onboarding. But yeah, when it comes to some of the things that we've like said yes and no to, we had a friend of ours who jokingly, but also probably not jokingly, he was asking, can I create like for the goodie bags, condoms with my face on them as like a promo? And I think that it would be funny. I think it would be hilarious. I think that it would make a lot of content around it. But, my mother-in-law likes me and I'd like to keep it that way. So I was like, that's really funny, but no, my brand manager has connections with a lot of, sex toy companies, and they would be interested in sponsoring this. But I'm like, not our vibe, no pun intended. No. So we're thank
funny.
you but no thank you. But just because someone has money with their wallet with a checkout doesn't mean that we have to say yes to everything. But there's also some really great opportunities for us and for them, like the water sponsor. Every single person's going to be holding a bottle of water. Their offer is easy for someone to like get that QR code. And so the same thing with like dinner or other beverages or the photo ops or whatever. We have an audience, especially of like a lot of entrepreneurs, innovative people, and people would spend like $10,000 for a booth in a hallway at a conference. This is like something that people can be really easily integrated into a narrative, which I think makes it easier to sell sponsorship spots for weddings.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. So that kind of goes to answer the question of like where you're willing to draw the line and like what you are and aren't willing to do. And I as we're talking about this, I'm beginning to see like between selling the tickets themselves, what you're going to do with the money, all the different little aspects of a wedding. I'm married and divorced as well, so that's one thing we have in common. Yeah. And I remember how many little details went into it. And all these things, honestly, they represent businesses. Somebody's got to provide the service, somebody's got to get the product, somebody's got to do that, right? And so I'm beginning to see where you're willing to draw the line. And, I can tell that there would be some opportunities to that you would have to say no to some specific things. That's honestly crazy about the condoms. I got a good laugh out of that one.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, but it is not the best fit.
Right.
It's like
not a good idea.
We've seen wedding crashers. We know some people go to weddings just for the sake of being able to, prey on the hookup. But
right. Yeah. Well, and alcohol at a wedding like this, we've debated on that too. We had dinner with Alex Sharfin a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling stories about his wedding that, so many years ago, he and Katie had been married for, I don't know, 20 something years or so. I'm totally guessing, but he was like, alcohol at my wedding turned it into like this big thing. And if this is going to be a big wedding, and if it's going to be public and people that you don't know there, like, do you have alcohol there? And so that's something we debated too. And, we have Steven's family is Mormon, and we also have a lot of Mormon friends there. So we're like, what do we do? What do we do for alcohol? Yeah. And I would say the same thing. And this is a part of the case study for future brides. Like, what decisions do you make about alcohol? And that was something that I faced of like, what do I do? Am I making a choice out of obligation, or am I making a choice out of like, wait, this is my wedding day and I'm going to do what is best for us? And so that's going to be part of the curriculum too, of like, hey, you don't need to spend $10,000 on a flower wall, because have you ever questioned why we have flowers at a wedding? They die the next day. Like, where else could you put that money?
Go right in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. There's other things. Like, why do we do the garter toss? Like, I think that's so weird for someone to crawl up a bride's dress in front of people. I don't know. Like, there's a bunch of things that happen at weddings. Like, have you questioned why we do this, other than just that everyone does it?
Tradition is weird. It's cringe, honestly. Like, I look at this like I was low key pissed on my wedding day. I was grumpy.
Why?
I was hot. My ring was too tight because my fingers were a little swollen.
Oh.
I didn't like half the people there, and I was sitting there. I was questioning, like, and I just wanted to go eat. And we had to take hundreds of photos, and I'm like, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
Like,
you get
can we
hangry.
please, like, and I wanted to go spend time with, right. I want to go spend time with my friends, with the people that were there to see us. But, so we got a couple more questions. I love this conversation.
This is so good.
Yeah. Okay. So, and we can loop back to a couple other things, but you alluded to, the type of curriculum that you're going to have for future brides. And one of the things that you just mentioned was if they don't have an audience. And so I'm curious, obviously people for all of history have had no challenge getting people to weddings. So it's not very likely that they have nobody. But what about the people that aren't online marketers, that don't have a following? How does this wedding model work out for them, and how can they make their wedding profitable?
Yeah, and I fully expect, like, for us, we opened it up to the public, but at the beginning, that was not our idea. At first, the idea was like, this is invite only, and we're sending it out to people that we know, and like, hey, instead of buying us a gift, just go through this. And then also the ticketing situation, also, like, you can guarantee that people are coming, or at least, they've paid for their seat, and if they have to back out, like, whether you do a refund or something. I had a friend of mine that she's like, where were you when I got married? Because I had a whole bunch of people that RSVP'd that no-showed. And then I was stuck with the bill for like all the food
all that stuff. I know.
Yeah, that's sucks.
One of the things like, that creates the bridezilla.
So inconsiderate.
Like,
yes. Well, and then the money's racking up, and then you have people that don't come, and like, are you offended by that? It's an unfortunate situation. So I think it solves that problem.
With the whole wedding thing, we had decided that very early in our relationship. So we treated our baby shower like a wedding reception. And so that worked out very well.
That's great.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Isn't that funny? We have all these like wedding things around a wedding. Like you have the bridal shower, you have the bachelorette, you have the bachelor party, you have all these things that like money stacks up of like things that you have to pay for. Like, I don't need a bridal shower. We're not planning bachelorette parties. Just come to the wedding for $57. Like, what is there to complain about? There's not all these other obligations. I forget what your other question was now, Joshua, because we went on a tangent.
Yeah, like how do regular people that don't have an audience make their wedding profitable?
So I don't think that most other people are going to be necessarily opening it up to the public. We opted to, because we do have an audience, and for people that are even like, clients or friends of friends or people that follow us that we know of, from the comments or from Facebook, we're like, yeah, I would love for you to come, but just because costs are going to add up, just pay for your seat at the table and confirm that you're going to be there by going through the funnel. Amazing. For most people, I would assume that they would just be like, hey, this is our wedding invitation website, and instead of a gift, just go through here. And for them, I expect it would be invite only. But then if they want to do other things like brand deals, sponsorships, or affiliates, that's where I want to teach an outreach process where you get to find brands that you already love and work with. Like, let's say if I don't know, I'm trying to think of these friggin' Stanley cups that are like so popular that everyone has one. Like, hey, Stanley, would you be interested in doing a sponsorship with my wedding? I'm going to have this many people here. I want to give them these links, or I want to sell custom Stanleys for my wedding. I'm going to put out a link right now, and can I get an affiliate fee on that? Like, there's so many other ways, or going to an aunt or a cousin or an uncle that they have a business that maybe they want to sponsor the water and have their QR code on the water bottles. Like, again, there's other ways that we can do this that doesn't require that they have an audience. And I also don't expect that most people are going to make their tickets public.
Sure. Okay. Interesting.
I am curious. I mean, people who buy the tickets, I'm hope if I am going, which I'm trying to make it happen with my move to Tennessee and everything. So when I make it happen, actually, I'm going for VIP. What can people expect, for, if they attend, general admission versus VIP? And then also I wanted to ask you, like, it sounds like there's a lot of sponsors that are going to be, offering like different like swag and stuff, but like I'm like envisioning like, is there going to be like a merch bar where people can like get their swag? Like I want a t-shirt. I want memories from this thing that like, so what's that going to look like?
That's funny. I mean, that's one of those things that when people give you feedback and they're like, I want this, we have to consider, because I wasn't planning on it like an I was there at the wedding of the year, whatever kind of t-shirt, but it makes me question, is that something that we would do? Maybe. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't want to print stock to have sitting there, but okay, we'll consider it. I'll put it on the list of things to consider.
And now, see, look, this is like, one of the things that we're considering doing is when the guest comes on the podcast, we're like really trying, and we've been at this for a little while and we still haven't really dialed it in, is like, what kind of takeaway do we want people to have? Like our friend Sarah Allred, everybody who comes on the podcast, she gives a notebook with your name on it.
Cool.
And so we're like, in the theme of entrepreneurship sucks, like I view us as like, we've championed all the challenges. We've rose to the top level of, overcoming the new levels, new devils, right? Each level, we level up, we become something better each time. And the reward is that new level of success, that new level of who you become in the process. And so we're talking to our friend at 1-800-T-shirts, Tom, and we're trying to figure out, we want to do like championship belts with the Entrepreneurship Sucks logo on it and have it say Marley Jaxx, and you can hang it up on your wall. Like I won the championship belt of entrepreneurship. I reached a certain level to where now I will always be the champion of this, right? I broke through. And so I think something like that to take away from your wedding, like I would hop on the podcast 2 years from now with my t-shirt saying that I was there. And that continues to bring attention ongoing to the coaching program and what is to come of this. So that's just my 2 cents. I think that's a good idea.
Well, I will consider it.
Love it. So
I have two. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
No,
we do this all the time. We don't want to step on each other's toes.
Like, tell us a little bit more about like sponsors. You don't have to announce who the sponsors are, but like what kind of like cool angles people have taken with the sponsorship, and like the media deals. Like, tell us a little bit more about that, because I'm really interested.
Yeah, it's easy for people to be like, hey, instead of a booth in a hallway, like let me integrate with what we're already doing. Like we have the relationship day. So, some people have books that they want to be able to give to everyone so that they can get their message out more. And of course, there's QR codes and stuff in their books to be able to sell into their courses or their programs that can help with their relationships. There's the rehearsal dinner that there's different things that people can be a part of there, like the beverages or a little speech integration kind of thing. On the wedding day, we have a really cool energy drink hydration sponsor. We have some artists that are going to be doing some cool, just confirming this, but potentially like live art installations. And then people can, if they want to, buy the art, which would then just get donated to Village Impact. So I hope that at the end of the night, we get to like celebrate with a big check and woo, you got to give us so much money to Village Impact. That would just be such a cool part of the story. And also selfishly for anyone that's like, this is tacky, I want to be like, hey, we just donated like $100,000 to Village Impact. Is that really tacky? Like, do you hate helping other people? That's weird. I would love if that gets to be, the punchline, the story at the end.
For sure.
Because really, how could you argue that? I'm sure people would be like, well, we have people in our own backyard that we could help instead of Kenya. Okay, shut up. Anyway, and then I mentioned the water sponsor. Some people have talked about like sponsoring the other beverages or the dinner. And then the day after the wedding, I mentioned we have the biohacking brunch. So like there's a bunch of different health experts and biohacking equipment and machinery and stuff that people get to showcase there while everyone gets a session on these machines that are like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tech. So
is it
that's going to be really fun.
Like Tesla coil thing? Joshua and I went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery, and we sat. I don't drink anymore, but I was pretty hungover. One of the days that we were at Business Mastery in Florida, and we sat in front of the that machine. I forget the name of it, Joshua. What's it called? We want to get one for our in-person podcast studio when I get down to Tennessee.
The biocharger.
Biocharger, yeah. And 15 minutes in front of that thing, and I was like, all right, like it definitely has a huge impact. And I wasn't skeptical at all because I've done a lot of like research on like energy and all that. But like I could imagine what how people would react to it if they didn't understand it. But once you sit down and experience it, it's incredible. And all the little different recipes for different parts of your body, it is one of the most impressive things I've seen in a long time. That's awesome.
So that'll be there, and that's cool because it's like a $20,000.
Yep.
That's like a $20,000 machine that Tony Robbins has in like every one of his houses and brings on the road with him, that everyone's going to get a session on that.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be good.
Cool.
That'll be good. So I have personally 2 questions left that I'm curious about. I'll ask the first one is the most brutal lesson learned so far trying to turn a wedding into making a wedding profitable, rather.
Yeah. The beginning of it, I definitely struggled when people didn't respond to the wedding invitation, that I was like, oh no, would they have come if it was free? Am I ruining my reputation? And I just had to like walk through that for a bit. But I definitely had days where I was feeling some anxiety and questioning my life choices. And it was just one of those things that I just had to walk through. And on the other side of it, I'm like, cool, glad that happened. So now I can teach that to other brides or teach them how to do things differently, that they get a response or are like more nurturing before the invitation goes out, so people understand it in case it's their first time hearing about it. So that one was probably the hardest. And I'll say that when I did the Facebook Live debate, I was like so scared that I was about to get slammed on the internet. And when I didn't, I was like, wow, okay. First of all, even if I did, I'm competent in being able to respond to this. But also it gave me practice in like just really speaking up for what I believe in.
Wow. Yeah. I imagine as you're launching this for the first time, I don't know if you're the first person in the world to do this or not, which kind of leads into my next question, which we should have asked when we first started this conversation. But I would like for you to bring us into the room on the moment that this idea dawned on you and Steven, where were you? What was the setting? What was the conversation? And then when was the moment that you were like,
We're
okay,
doing
we're
it.
doing it?
Yeah. It actually, this is such a fun question to reflect on. And I wish he could answer from his side too, because it was really, we started thinking about this before we even got engaged. And we thought, wouldn't it be funny? You know, we sell tickets to our events all the time, and a wedding, like, how hard could it be? We'll just, you know, basically do the same thing we do for business events, but for a wedding. And so we kind of hypothetically talked about it for so long and joked about, like, oh, and then we can do this as the order bump and this is the upsell, ha ha ha. And then it was when we first started looking at wedding venues. And there was one wedding venue that we went to, and the villain in my story is this cake cutting fee. We went to a venue, it was beautiful, but one of the items in their quote was $650 for a cake cutting fee. Like, just to cut the cake. Yeah, that's the face we usually get, is like, wait, what? Since then, I've been educated, and some vendors have told me, like, do you know how much work it is to cut a cake, and like the dishes involved and having to do that? And I'm like, okay, cool, but like, can you wrap that into another fee or something? Because that just, it looks so excessive, and I don't think that it makes vendors look very good.
It's crazy.
So that was the villain in my story that made me go, there has to be another way. And
Sure.
as a bride, I think of all the other brides that are paying even more exorbitant fees, because I made a post about it on my Facebook, and then other people were like flooding the comments with, yeah, I had to pay $30 for a charger plate. Like, the charger plate is the decorative plate that goes under the plate of food. Like, you're not even using this plate. And so people were just like, yeah, and I paid this for this and this for this. And then I made a next post joking, but also like, hypothetically, if we sold tickets to our wedding, would you buy one? Ha ha ha. And then people were like, yes, I would. This is ripe for disruption. You should do it. And then that's where Steven and I, we tested
trial
it.
close.
We absolutely did. But Steven and I, you know, behind closed doors, we're talking about it, like, would we do this? You know, what would it look like? What does the potential backlash look like? How would our families feel about that? Because obviously that matters. Obviously it's our day, but we want to make sure that we're honoring our families. If we did this, what would it look like? How would we approach it? And we went back and forth on it for a very long time. And at one point we were just like, no, we're not going to do it. This is, you know, it's going to be a lot of effort. And since it hasn't been done before, is it worth the backlash? And then it was actually when we went to Funnel Hacking Live. And because I had made those posts of like, haha, should we do it? A lot of people approached us saying, like, when are tickets on sale? I want to buy one. And so it was interesting hearing people in person start to talk about it. And that's what made us question it a little bit more. And then I think the actual, like, the final yes to it was when we had a few people also at that event that came up to us saying, hey, this is kind of already done in our other cultures, where it's just expected that you like give money. And in some cultures, one woman was saying, like, people get married when they need money, which is not the reason to get married.
Sure.
But
yeah.
but yeah, they were like, this is kind of normal, and like, you should do it, and you should bring this to, you know, Western culture. So it took a little bit, it took a bunch of back and forth, and then when we decided to do it, it was like all green lights, because a lot of people fell into place with like helping make it happen.
That is awesome. I love that so much for you guys. Kevin got booted from Riverside, so but it's good news. We made it all the way to the end. And so from here, let's see here. I want to give you just the opportunity to speak on whatever you're most excited about. I know that there's a lot of planning, a lot of strategy, you know, in a wedding in and of itself there is, but then turning it into an experience that is profitable for you, fun for your guests, and then, like you alluded to earlier, that makes them feel like, oh, I paid for a seat at the table. This is something unique and special, more than just what a regular wedding is.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's probably a lot of that stuff circulating your brain, but at the true spirit of why we have weddings and of why we celebrate this in front of people is the union of two spirits becoming one before God and before people. And you know, I think it's incredibly important to major on the major and minor on the minors. And I'm not saying that anything is a minor. This is all awesome stuff, but I know that it's going to be an incredible moment for you and Steven, and I'm excited to see that happen. We have every intention to be there, but I did want to give you the opportunity before we wrap up. What are you most excited about?
I'm obviously most excited about just us actually getting married. We've been together for actually, it'll be our 5-year anniversary on Thursday. And so it's been a long time coming of like, we knew that we wanted to get married, running businesses and all the things that come with business and raising 3 girls and just busy lives. We were like,
Yeah,
it'll happen one day. So we're excited for the wedding to have this experience with our friends and family and people that love us and that we love, and to be able to create this amazing experience and the story that I hope continues long after the wedding happens for us to be able to reflect on and to feel like that just was the most special day. I would love, like I said, if we can raise so much money for Village Impact and be able to help build some schools, classrooms, and even fund a whole school there would be so amazing. And
yeah,
we'll
it
be going
would.
back to Africa with them in 2027, and would love for more people to come with us too if they want to be a part of that. And
Nice.
yeah, and then just like what happens after the wedding now? We get to share this with other people. We get to turn wedding funnels into what I hope becomes like a new norm for people, that it
Yeah,
just becomes like, oh, are you doing this kind of wedding? Or are you doing this kind of wedding? The same way that's like, are you taking an Uber or a taxi or an Airbnb or a hotel? And I have no idea where it will even continue to go from here, but I think that we have something really unique that I hope becomes a whole new trend for people.
yeah, it will certainly become the birth of something new.
Yeah.
And I think that that's awesome that you're incorporating missions into it as well. That's something that's near and dear to my heart as well. In 2017, I went on a mission trip to Guatemala,
Oh,
and so whenever the the Two Hearts Award
yeah.
came out, Kevin and I were like, in terms of attaching our efforts to a greater calling and a greater purpose, that is exactly what we wanted to go for. Is just
Mm-hmm.
to be able to like do things like donate $100,000 a month to charities, and
Wow.
we that's one big goal of ours, is to be able to give at the level that we want to give. And so I love that that's at the center of what you're doing, and it's not just a money grab, but you
Yeah.
can do this from a place of genuine wanting to do good for other people and have fun while you're at it. So
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that we've just had to explain a little bit, is when people hear it and first think it's a money grab, they just need to hear the story. That's it.
exactly, yeah. If they knew who you guys were, they would never say that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's a couple mentions here before we wrap up. First and foremost is obviously go get your tickets to the wedding. It's in a month. When is the exact date, Marley?
Yeah, so it's August 1st. If people want to come to the rehearsal dinner or the relationship day, that's on July 31st. And then the wedding August 1st, and then the biohacking brunch on August 2nd. So the wedding, just for people like, wait, it's on a Friday? Yes, the wedding is on a Friday.
Good. Okay, there's that. So then we're going to put the link to get your tickets in the description of the YouTube video, and also on the short form clips that we put out on social media. And then in terms of the village that we are going to be supporting with the wedding, what is the exact name of the village?
The charity is called Village Impact, and so they have different places. We went with them to Kenya, so I don't know if by that time there might be a different location that they're working with. But one of the schools that we helped build back then was the Nagia Girls School, and that one really impacted me specifically because I had never heard of the term period poverty until that trip,
Okay.
and that's where girls who, when they have their period once a month, if they don't have supplies, if they don't have feminine hygiene products, they will miss out on school during that time, and it affects their life. And unfortunately,
Yeah, it
in even
does.
more dire situations, if they don't have the resources they need, they can resort to selling their bodies to get what they need. And that just absolutely broke my heart. So I also asked them, how
Wow.
much would it cost to fund this entire village with sustainable, they're called ruby cups that you can just use instead of the disposable stuff.
Yes.
And it was like $10,000, which to me, I'm like, $10,000, that's nothing. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's something that we could easily raise. So that's
Yeah.
something
You make
near
one
and
high
dear to
ticket
my heart.
offer and then boom.
Right? Yeah, that's like a
Yeah.
weekend launch. We could put that
Oh,
together. Yeah.
So there's a 2027 mission trip to Kenya, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You should offer a deposit for an upsell to go with you guys there.
We are already, yes, that is the plan. Yeah.
Already
So
doing it.
yeah, so
Awesome.
at the wedding, that's going to be something that we want to do. Actually, this is like, I haven't shared this publicly, and I'm probably not going to say this publicly, but if anyone hears it, great, you get a teaser of what's happening. But we want to share how much we're raising, and we want to make an offer of like, you guys can come with us when we go to Kenya in 2027. Like, I expect that your calendars, you're not booked out that far now. And if you want to come, like, block out this time. It's an absolutely beautiful experience. Like, to drive into the village and have like hundreds of kids that are running towards you and they're singing. And it's just like this beautiful experience. And to see the work that we've been able to do with this money, that, and like the generations that it's going to impact, is so beautiful. And of course, we'll add some extra bonuses to it for some masterminding and some other cool things. And really, between now and 2027, like, that's like $500 a month.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
be able to have this experience. So yeah, that's something that we're going to be doing, that I really think that we have a good shot of making $100,000 at the wedding for Village Impact.
100%. I definitely think that once people are there, it's going to be like the back of a room event sales at FHL, you know,
Yeah.
that once they get immersed into everything, that it's just going to be a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
getting
absolutely
there
want to
is
create
just
that.
the day one of like the challenge, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
this has been awesome. We're going to go ahead and wrap it here. For everybody, like I said, links in bio in the description to find Marley on Facebook, Instagram, to their wedding funnel, and then to support the charity as well. If you're not already, give us a follow at the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast on our YouTube, like and subscribe. And this has been another episode. Thank you so much, Marley, for joining and for sharing everything that is coming up in the next month. And we're so excited to be there to support you on your big day.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.